It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.
Anthony!
Glenn!
How you doing today, man?
I'm great. We're here in Las Vegas. You know what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it certainly does. You know, one of the things that I find when I'm in Las Vegas, Anthony, is that I have so many stories to tell, but I'm just not allowed to share them when I leave Las Vegas.
Right. Well, that's the thing about Las Vegas. You don't want to share anything once you're out of this town because it could come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, it certainly can. So tell me about what your experience was like on Hotel Impossible.
Well, it's been such an amazing, exciting experience. So many places, so many incredible, crappy hotels that I've turned around and made a success. It's been really incredible.
Yeah, mostly because of you.
100% because of me. Because these places were floundering.
Wait.
What?
Glenn, I'm confused. I'm really confused.
Glenn,
what's going on right now?
You cheating on me with John?
All right. So maybe the jig is up. That wasn't really Anthony. Now we got Anthony. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good. So what is going on
No,
over
it's
here?
interesting. My friend John Di Domenico. I invited him to the podcast because he's an actor, writer, comedian, just an all-around amazing guy. And I asked him to be on the podcast, and I step out to use the men's room, and he takes over the mic as me. That's not cool, man.
Well, that's your fault for having a
Well, I could be somebody else if you want me to. I could be somebody
President.
really incredible. What an amazing podcast. Your ratings are going to be so high after this. You're going to get a TV show, probably.
It's really encouraging that you feel that way, Mr. Trump, because we've been dying to get a television show out of this, and I think that our show is solid.
It's rock solid. It's incredible. It's really amazing. And now that I've been on, it'll probably be the single biggest show in television history.
Well, hold on a second.
I hear that people are talking about our show.
Many people. Many people.
No, Mr. Trump, I got a question for you. Now that you're on my show, our show,
right.
I think the ratings are going in the toilet. I mean, because there's a lot of people that are just you completely isolate, and we're going to lose half our audience.
That's okay because they're the losers. You want to lose. Those people aren't really listening. They're not listening. Your background noise. My people are the people who are really going to listen. And by the way, come to any of my hotels. You know what they say. If it's not a Trump hotel, it's a dump hotel. These are fantastic hotels. 5 stars. Some of them are 6 stars, which is very unusual.
But Mr. Trump, if you're such a great hotelier, why not a 7-star hotel?
Well, you know what? We're working on that right now, and we're going to get it. We're going to get it because, there's just been so much winning with all of my hotels. So much.
So, Mr. Trump, with all the pressure that you have as President of the United States, the one thing that I can't understand, your biggest offender, Kellyanne Conway.
Tremendous woman.
Her husband.
George.
Yes.
What do you think
doesn't like you very much.
Total loser, total lightweight, doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he got his law degree from Fisher Price or someone like that. The guy, he's a nobody, and he's kind of overweight. Did you notice that? He's overweight, he's out of shape, and he looks a little Asian at the same time. He does. Not a good guy. I call him Mr. Kellyanne Conway.
So how long will you be president, do you think? 100
Probably.
years?
Well, this is what I'm thinking. 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. Everyone, because many people at my rallies come up to me and say, could you be president for life? Could you be president for life? And, obviously the Democrats are going to fight it, but we'll change the Constitution. And I know the Constitution. I know all 10 of the commandments, and we'll change it. And I will be president for life. In fact, on my way up here on the elevator, some people talked to me, and one guy said to me, I hope you get life. I hope you get life. Isn't that nice?
I think that's nice? That's absolutely
very
beautiful.
Supportive.
Couldn't have any other meaning at all.
None whatsoever.
So do you think your running mate for the next election, will you stay with who's your vice president now, Vice President Pence, or will Putin be your running mate?
Well, he could be, but he's busy running Russia, and he's doing a terrific job. Great job. And so Xi Jinping, he's doing a great job, And he's president for life, and Xi is president for life. Why can't I be president for life? And, Kim Jong-un, he gets to kill journalists, but I can't kill anybody. Do you know what I mean? It's just not fair.
That must really be a bummer. Things are so unfair for you.
It's so unfair for the rich president, the richest president. Everyone's so mean to me, and I'm so nice.
Do you know, Mr. Trump, I don't know if you remember me, but I actually worked for you at the Plaza Hotel in 1990.
Yes.
I was the night manager, and you used to call me Tony.
I would call you Tony because you looked like a Tony. You didn't look like an Anthony. And you did a tremendous job, and he was neat. He was very neat. Very neat. He had OCD. But he always looked great. Came in like perfectly. He looked great. Some of the guys were terrible. He was really on point.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trump. Now, Mr. Trump, I know you got to go. You have a really, really important job running the country. So we're going to bring back.
Got to go play golf.
I have all the time in the world. It's the golf game. The Wynn's going to have me at his course. A tremendous course, by the way.
So I'm going to let you go play golf, and then we're going to bring back John. Is that okay?
I'm back.
All right. So what I really love about that is this is for those of you who can't see what we're doing right now. You're actually got his mannerisms down.
Yes.
And I bet that's like half of getting into a character.
Well, it's funny because with him, I can't do the voice without doing. I was in my studio. I'm recording a book, and I was literally I'll knock things over in the studio because I'm in this contained space, but I have to do this. You know what I mean? I've got to move the arms.
So let's back up to the beginning. And so on our show today is John Di Domenico, who's a good friend of mine, and we met a couple of years ago in New York City. And John is an actor, obviously an impersonator and a writer, and just one of the people who have been in this industry a long time, and a person I have a lot of respect for. We just had breakfast a couple weeks ago, and I got to know him better, and his ability to just cut through all the shit and stay and have just a vibrant career all these years later really talks to his ability, or your ability to not be a victim and not to be corrupted by this industry, and to appreciate everything that comes your way, whether it be your acting job. I remember a couple weeks ago you were in all blue makeup or something.
Right, for the live cast, yeah.
So, and you wrote something so beautiful about being in that live cast. So talk, first of all, explain what I was talking about, and then we'll continue.
I've been cast in a movie, and anytime you wear any kind of facial prosthetics, they're called appliances in the business, you have to get this thing called a life cast done. And what they do is it's basically they're doing a reverse mold of your face. So the special effects artist can have this bust of you, which starts at your shoulders, and they build everything so it's anatomically correct to your face, so perfect adhesion. But the process itself is barbaric and archaic.
Yeah, they cover your whole face in like plaster or whatever, or some sort of rubber, and you have to they put tubes up your nose. So
they don't do that anymore. They do a nose bridge. That was the one innovation. Yeah. So they cover you first in the one blue element, and that's all over you. And once that hits you, you cannot move again, and you just have to be very calm and breathe. And then they do a second one, and then they put you in plaster. This whole thing takes about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And you've got to remain incredibly calm. And I was meditating and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I didn't know where I was. And I opened my eye a little bit and the crap got in my eye. And then I started having an anxiety attack, which many people do in this process, because you're stuck. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't leave. They tape your arms down. Not that it would hold you, but it's just they want to remind you to keep your arms down. And I started oh my God, I need to cough. I got to get out of here. And it was a matter of just starting to say some affirmations. And then I went through the process of, I'm sitting in a chair where major stars, many, many actors have sat to get their makeup done for Alien, for Predator, for Chucky, for all of these movies. And I am lucky enough to be here. I dreamed of being in this seat. I've watched so many making of movies where they actually show you this process. And I want to do that. I want to be in that chair. I want to be that actor. And I was. And that kind of pulled me back in. You know, for me, that's what it took. I asked for this, and I am here. I manifested being in this chair. Now, slow down and enjoy it, because life just will run right by you if you just can't stop in those moments and control your anxiety.
Yeah, and I was really impressed with what you wrote on Instagram, talking about that and how appreciative and respectful you were of the position you're in. And in a little while, because this is a hotel podcast, we're going to bring back Mr. Trump, since he owns hotels, to talk about his hotel experiences when he travels about hotels, when he goes around the world traveling. I want to know his experience about traveling hotels. But before we get there, I want to know, because you're an actor impersonator, you're the number one Donald Trump impersonator in the world, and the number one Austin Powers impersonator in the world.
Yeah, baby. So we shank now, we shank later. Let's do both. Oh, behave.
So you're amazing. And so, but it was so you do that. That's part of what you do.
Right.
You're here at the SLS in Vegas, and you do a show. Tell me about that show real quick.
It's a totally outrageous brunch, and essentially it's a variety show, but it's more than a variety show because it's, we have some amazing aerialists and an incredible singer, Ann Martinez, and we have dancers, and we have Michael Arrington, whose show it is. It's Esther Goldberg. It's his character. It's a female character that he does. It's not a drag show, but it's kind of like a Dame Edna character.
I was going to say more along the lines of like Monty Python.
Yes, exactly. And so the show is all that we wrote it in a way that the acts kind of all interlock. So it's not modular, but it is in a sense variety show. But it has kind of a story,
kind of like how Absinthe kind of.
Yeah. There's similar. There's kind of similar elements to that. Ours is an act is mean.
No, that show is really mean. And that's why the Gazillionaire is so funny.
Right. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but okay.
It's a show over at Caesars Under a Tent. It's not as good as his show, but you should go check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So you've kept alive for how long doing this? Are you making a living?
I have been making a living as a professional actor since I was 24.
24 years old.
Yeah, and a lot of people have come and gone that I know. And, people get married and they have to get a real job, or they get pregnant, or they get a lot of things happen. It's a brutal business being a performer. You look for work every single day. And years ago, and everything's a paradigm, because when I was a kid, I called it the James Dean paradigm, because you go to New York and you work off Broadway, and then you work off Broadway, and then you work off Broadway, and then you work Broadway, and then you get a movie, and all those types of things. And like those paradigms never existed. We're all under this impression. The thing is, you have to find your work more now than ever, but you have to find your work and create your work and keep yourself employed. No one's going to discover you. No one's going to I don't mean this in a negative way. No one's going to help you.
Right.
No one's looking for you.
Right. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword of how media has changed so much. Where
Right.
You used to be able to get involved in a particular company and they may give you different roles within that company. But now it's all up to you to pretty much create your whole thing from whole cloth.
And I saw that years and years ago, and the way things worked. And for me, it was always like a couple of things really hit me hard when I was a kid. I watched the Lon Chaney movie. Did you ever see that, Man with a Thousand Faces? So Lon Chaney, this was the infancy of filmmaking.
This is old school.
Old school. This is like silent era. But in the old days, literally people would get outside, like at the Home Depot. They would go outside of the studio and they would stand around, and people say, today we're making a pirate movie. We'll take you, and you're a winch. We'll take you and you. And that's how they did. And then they would with them. What Lon Chaney did was, and it was so smart, he brought wardrobe with him. He brought makeup with him. He made himself valuable. He added value to who he was. So when they came out and they said, we're making a Robin Hood thing, or we're doing a Western, he got his Western garb on, and he glued on the mustaches, and it made him work, because I'm a blue collar guy, and my dad was a factory worker. I want to work. I want to perform. I don't want to necessarily be great to be a star, but work is more important, because through work you get better and better and better, not just performing, but the business of getting the work. And that's what I always did. I always had tons of wardrobe and makeup and wigs, and did multiple characters. And people would say, hey, you doing this character yet? And I'm like, yes. That's how I did Trump.
Then you'd go home and learn it.
Yeah, that's how I ended up doing Trump.
Right.
Because at the time I was doing, and this was 2004, and I was always fascinated with Trump, which is, you and I had talked about, because even back into the 80s, he was just a fascinating guy. But in 2004, I got a phone call, and the first season of The Apprentice had ended, and somebody said, are you doing Trump yet? Because they always knew I was getting jumping on the hot characters, whatever it was. Like when Guy Fieri came out, yeah, baby, we're driving a bus to Flavortown. Love, peace, and taco grease, baby. And I had the wig made, and found the glasses, and got all the bling. You know what I mean? And I let people know, I'm doing this character now, and here's what I'm doing with this character. I'm doing a roast. I'm hosting. It was this. You're constantly educating people with your characters. So with Trump, I got this it was an audition, and I person calls, said, "Are you doing Trump yet?" And I said, "Not yet, but can you give me an hour so I could do some quick research?" And I did some really fast research, and because this is, there wasn't a lot of video of him at the time of impersonators, other than Phil Hartman and Daryl Hammond. And I was like, you know what? I can do this voice. It's in my genetic range, and Northeast, New York, the nasality. And when I do a voice, you were asking about this before. When I do a voice, I break it down into elements because I need to, and then I reassemble it. So for me, because one thing I told Anthony this, but I had a severe speech impediment as a child.
Really?
Yeah, and I was always teased about it, and I couldn't be understood. It was tough when you can't communicate. But when I did voices, it disappeared. So when I did...
You know what? You're not the first person that I've heard that does this that had that same issue.
Yeah, and when I did Ed Sullivan, when I did Humphrey Bogart, when I did James Cagney, it just disappeared. It vanished.
Right.
And
I wonder if anyone listening knows who those people are.
Yeah, exactly. More dead people.
Yeah.
But what it is there's voluntary speech and there's involuntary speech, and we're all speaking in this involuntary way because we're not in... The reason you can't hear yourself is because you'd go crazy if you did, if you heard your voice constantly. But when you produce a voice or produce an accent or something, when you're actually manufacturing it in the moment, you have much more control over it than your own voice. So that was the thing that I learned as a kid. Also, I grew up in a row home neighborhood, and when I would go out perform for my neighbors, they was just, who's this precocious 5-year. Now, ladies and gentlemen, right here on our show.
That would be Ed Sullivan for those of you following along.
Right. And my neighbors, they loved it. And I would watch whoever was on that night on that show and come out and do it. And then when I went to speech therapy, they explained to me how proper vocal production and proper control of your tongue and proper placement. Of course, the speech therapists were from Philly, so I ended up with a Philadelphia accent.
Yeah, just sound it out.
Right. Home, phone, alone. But with the elements to a voice, they quickly are throat placement, nasal placement, actual vocal production, accent, tongue placement, and then the part I added on was like the secret sauce, which is really just attitude. With Austin, it's kind of, yeah, baby. Ooh,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see you physically get into it.
I love that's the acting training. Dr. Evil, it's a little bit different. He's a little further back in his mouth. And with Trump, it's all those pieces. Because he's got this cadence thing going on, too. Because you have to speed up and slow down.
Yeah, I like the way he said pieces.
Pieces. Hillary Clinton. Crooked Hillary, right? Am I right? Of course I'm right. So there's all these things happening with him. So it really helped me a lot to be in speech therapy for 8 years, from 1st to 8th grade, 2 times a week. And I sat there for years in front of a mirror. And literally, the one therapist used to go like this, to form the O's.
You're pushing your mouth forward.
Yeah. Hello.
The shape of the O.
Right.
Yeah.
She would take her hand and put it on my face and squeeze my lips together to get proper vocal production out of me. Not the production, but the actual pronunciation, and get the shape of it right. So I'm very grateful that I was in a school system that had that. It helped me now to do all these other voices and to have more of a scientific approach. I know a lot of impressionists and impersonators, and I always say to them, like, how do you break down a voice?
Oh, they're lying. They know exactly how they do it.
They're just not sharing it.
Right. They're like, this guy's too good. I don't want to give him any of my tips. So tell me, do you look when you first want to do somebody new? You got to watch, I guess, them on TV, news broadcasts, whatever it might be. Are there certain words that you first home in on? Because I feel like people have very specific ways of saying specific words in particular.
You're listening for I'm always looking for the way in. So with Barack Obama.
Right.
He did this thing where he was he would hold out, and because he was thinking.
Right.
So before he would speak, so you're listening for where's the voice coming from, that kind of thing. So I'm always looking for what's the way in? How can I just get in? Once I'm in, I can figure it out, but I need a way into the voice.
What's the one voice that you just can't? You're trying desperately to get and you haven't gotten it yet?
Well, I'll tell you exactly who it is, because I love Frank Caliendo. He's a great master impressionist, and
I actually saw him here in Vegas once.
Yeah, and he's a funny, and he's just great, funny guy. And his John Madden was so good. And I honestly don't know anyone else who can do Madden. And I would listen and listen and listen. And I couldn't find where the seam was to get in for me.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, I tried and I practiced. And, you do things on your own. You hear it in your head. But I couldn't, crack the code on the voice where I could do, a full sentence. I could do a word here and there because that's how you start out with anybody. You find that that phrase that they use, but then to get beyond a phrase, to get into a sentence and to get into a paragraph, where is that? Because you have to know the rules of how they speak consistently across full sentences and full paragraph, especially for what I do, because I'm not an impressionist in a comedy club. I do full-on makeup, and I'm doing 35 minutes.
Right. Wow, that's huge. So how do you do 35 minutes without slipping out of the character? Because that seems like a huge challenge.
Well, a lot of that's more the acting training, and I'm a big wardrobe and wig guy, and when I'm getting into makeup for an hour, I'm seeing myself as that character. So, for me as Dr. Phil, when I've got the side pieces on and the mustache, what were you thinking? And you're contorting your face in a certain way that he does with the big eyebrows and the furrowed brow and that kind of thing. Hey, I'm from Plano, Texas.
Right.
So you're always looking
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're looking for those things that you can kind of hang on to in the performance, because it doesn't matter if you're playing, in a show and you're a dad from the 1950s, whatever that is, you're gonna kind of take that and hold on to it throughout the whole performance.
There's one thing about being able to be an actor and an impersonator, and then there's the business of doing what you do.
Right.
And has it ever gotten to the point where it's just so you're doing everything? You're not only having to put out the content, but you're also the business person, entrepreneur behind the content. And one of the things I tried to explain to my daughter, who's an actress, is you're an entrepreneur. You're not an actress. You're an entrepreneur that happens to be an actress. And do you see yourself that way? Or
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm always creating a new product. That's what it is. I am selling a product. Beyond selling myself, I'm selling, if I started doing, for the lack of anything else, Joe Biden, it would be I'd start the process of talking to my makeup team and my wardrobe people and the teeth guy and all that stuff, and build the product first. But even before I do that, I'm saying, hey, I'm working on this product. Where in the marketplace will this work, and who's going to buy this product? And then it's the part of letting people know about it and doing a big MailChimp or Constant Contact, and then doing the photos. And it's a process. It's really a process, and that's the thing that people don't get. And it's I have an assistant, and we're in the office all day, and it's contracts, and it's expenses, and it's booking flights and hotels and ground transportation, and making sure my suits are clean, if the wig has been washed and styled, and that we have the American flag cufflinks, and I've already started the process of the writing, and the client sent me and I love it when people, I'll do a corporate group, then it'll be 3,000 people, and we'll do a photo thing afterwards, and someone will say to me, so what do you do during the week?
Seriously?
Yeah.
I think it's and that's what we try to get through on this show. I think that's just everybody thinks everything's easy, right?
I know, right.
We were just talking about the other day.
Well, anything anyone else is doing is much
Well,
easier
listen,
than whatever you're going through.
I don't believe my kids should watch or buy anything from the Kardashians, but I won't allow them to say they don't work hard. They work hard.
They work very hard.
They work really hard. Doesn't mean I respect. I don't want that. What happened? What am I doing wrong?
We're listening to you.
You're looking at him. He's looking at me.
There's hand waving here
we just wanted to
in the studio.
Because, for those of you listening to this, we also got a little video going. We wanted to make sure that the picture was clear.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And so it's the work. And, when I'm doing a keynote speech or I'm doing a new show or producing something, it's just the work. And the last thing you see is all the work for that 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And same thing with football players or baseball. How does a baseball player get through a 162 game season?
Yeah.
And I don't care if they're making $20 million a year. 162 games, being on the buses and the planes and being away from your family. It's just a lot. And working on your conditioning and your massages and everything you need to do. Yes, it doesn't sound difficult. Doesn't being on a farm and being able to handle a farm obviously sounds like a lot of work. But I really think if you're good at something and you've done it for a long time, it's work. And I think what people miss when they see you as Donald Trump or Austin Powers, or whoever they see you as, was that great host, Anthony Melchiorri, whoever they see you as.
I'm sorry, who?
You know, they forget it's work. And I'm like, again, I keep beating this a dead horse, but I want people to understand that that's just 5 minutes of really 40 hours of work to get there.
It takes a lot of work. And people, just the mere fact that you're there is a miracle, because they had many other choices, you know, at these events. So, you know, I try to explain to people when I go in, and I've been lucky enough to speak to high school students, and I have a friend who runs a school in New Jersey, and I go in and talk to their TV, film, theater program, and I always say, who here wants to be a movie star? And everyone puts their hands up, a TV star, and have their own Netflix show, and all that kind of stuff. And then I say, you know, the Screen Actors Guild, which is the union for actors, on any given day has 95% unemployment. 95%. I said, only 5% on a daily basis work. And I said, if you take that 5% and you convert it, you know, back to 100%, then you're talking about the people that you watch are like the tiniest part of that. It's the other people saying, are you having wine with dinner?
Yeah, right.
Can I get you your car? So it's tough, and that's why the attrition. That's why people drop out. It's brutal. Because
I'm sorry.
No, it's just brutal. That's why I that paradigm didn't work for me. Going to auditions is a big waste of time. I'd rather create my work, create my demand, and then I can work, and I have a little more flexibility.
You seem to like it.
Oh,
like
I
one
do.
of the things, even when we were having breakfast and it was just two friends talking, you seem to like it. You don't seem to be tired by it or bothered by it. See, I tend to get bothered by the business of the business sometimes, and it bugs me. It's like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like, I know I need to do that. And it's not so much the performance, it's the office shit.
I was like that up to about 10 years ago, and I was like, geez, why am I not? I paid my dues 100 times over, for the love of God.
Is that your impersonation of me? Uh-oh.
Okay, so that was Glenn's ringtone on his phone.
Yeah, that was Axilla by Fish.
So it was one of these things where I listened to this show on KPRW in Santa Monica. It's called The Business. Basically, it's inside baseball for actors, writers, directors. It's, you know, and it's a Hollywood Reporter show. But I was amazed every time they had a pretty well-known actor on. It says, "Oh no, they wouldn't give me that role. I had to audition." Or someone says, I literally went to the director's house and banged on his door for him to give me an audition. And I was like, these are very well-known people. And all I could think of was like, oh, my God, this never stops. It literally never ends.
Right.
You have to prove yourself over and over and over again. And that's when I finally thought, you know what? That's what I'll have to. I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to go out and light the campfire every single day.
Right. It's not personal. It's just the business.
It's just the business.
Remember the commencement speech from Robert De Niro to NYU Tisch students about 3-4 years ago? Remember what he said? He gets up there and he goes, "Congratulations." He goes, "Doctors graduating from NYU will be doctors. You know, lawyers will be lawyers. Actors, you're all fucked."
Yeah.
He literally said that. He goes, "You're going to be unemployed and you're going to be serving me dinner maybe forever." And he goes, "You're all screwed. You have to want it. But you have to really not only want it, you have to like it."
Yeah, you have to like it. You have to like it, because otherwise it bleeds through your work.
Right, 100%.
Bleeds through, and people can see it, and they see that you're bitter. You know, you're doing a murder mystery in Tarrytown, New York, and they're like, "That guy feels bitter."
Well, you said something.
Tarrytown's a lovely city. No offense.
Oh, no, I love Tarrytown. I love it, but I used to do a lot of murder mysteries. Yeah.
You said something to me at breakfast the other day, and you said, I was talking about different impersonators. And there's one in particular impersonator I don't think we should mention. And it's like, I don't think he does that really well. And he said because he hates the person he's impersonating.
Right.
And I found that fascinating. Why is that? Like, why is that?
Because one of the things they teach you, one of the first things I remember learning when I was in acting school was you have to love, or at the very least, like the person you're playing. And it could be, I remember I was doing a play about the last firing squad in the U.S., the last legal firing squad, and the person I was playing was a racist. I mean, like a straight up, like, race. And I was like, how do I do it? I hate this guy. The director was like, no, you can't, no. You know, unless the person has self-loathing, But the important thing is, like, you are you in the character. You have to love yourself, because if you don't, it creates this internal disconnect. And that disconnect is in your performance. And you give a performance where you dislike the character you're playing, and then it becomes a caricature.
So then how do you find that way to connect with a character that you find a dubious personality?
But, well, that person most likely loves himself.
Right.
And somebody else loves them too. Bonnie loved Clyde, and Clyde loved Bonnie, and they're essentially mass murderers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people love themselves on a certain level, and you just have to find that place. If you're playing someone, you're playing them. They love themselves. At least they have enough for them to survive every day and get out there. So you've got to just find that level, and that's really important. On the person that we're talking about, he's making a conscious choice not to like this person, and people see it. Some people appreciate it in the performance. I don't, because I know he can do a lot better, because he does some other characters incredibly well, like spot on.
So, if you weren't doing I never asked this question before, but if you weren't doing this, being an actor, what would you do?
I would think I would be in some form of storytelling and film production or television. I was a copywriter. I loved advertising. So I worked at a couple of agencies. I really, more than anything, and I love to perform, but the creative process, even the rehearsal process when I used to do theater, is the most fulfilling thing. Being with other actors, creating something, finding something in, getting a direction from a director, getting it back up on its feet. That's great. You don't get paid for that. You don't get paid for that.
You get paid in emotional satisfaction.
Right.
You know, it's interesting. When I was running hotels, and I didn't realize it until you just said it, my favorite part of running a hotel is when I would sit with the PR people and we would come up with a concept that no one else came up with, and then we would throw it out there, and then all of a sudden it would be the biggest thing in New York City. And that was more exciting to me than even hosting my own show. Like that was like, we got that. We figured that out, and nobody else did. And I love that.
The best. When I started out in advertising, my feeling was I really need to stand out. They're getting hundreds of resumes for copywriting and everything. I did my resume in crayon.
You did?
I did it in crayon, and I drew in panels. The whole thing, and the whole thing was in crayon. And I got calls as soon as it went out, I got calls the next day.
Wow.
You know, that's why you're working, because you're always thinking, hate to say thinking out of the box, but you're always thinking creatively.
Right.
So before we bring in Mr. Trump and ask him about his fabulous hotels, I want to know, as an actor, a person that travels so much, that spends so much time in hotel rooms, tell me about your hotel experience. Like, what's the first thing you notice? Tell me where you think the hotels are now, 20 years, and where they were 20 years ago, because that's all we talk about all day long. But I'd like to hear from a person that's kind of not really in the hotel business.
Right. Well, I was just in Brussels, and I was doing Trump for the European Parliament, and I stayed at the Steingard. Is that right? Is that the...
Yeah. Just say that to yourself when you were 12 years old. I was just in Brussels doing Trump for the Parliament. Right. Just say that to your 12-year-old self.
Yeah, I know. I'm still blown away. It's so crazy. But I've gotten to stay in some amazing hotels. And I've been so lucky to stay in them, and so grateful. And, because otherwise I wouldn't be staying in these places. To be in Milan, Italy, and this place and that place, and Bangkok, Thailand. I've had some amazing hotel experiences. I love staying at the really great hotels where everyone knows who you are as soon as you walk in. That is the best. That's really, you can tell the level of service, and the rooms are taken care of in a way that's unique, and the thread count on the sheets is through the roof. It's truly a memorable experience. I guess most of the hotels are mid-range. For the most part, for me, it comes down to like clean, because I'm like OCD about clean. Space in the bathroom so I can do makeup. Sometimes I see the lower end hotels, like, this is the sink, and I have this much space to work in. I'm always shocked. Or the bathroom's the size of a garage, but the basin and the counter area is so small. So specifically for me with hotels, it's knowing that the hotel's quiet, because because you can hear noises in some of the cheaper hotels, but that the staff is. That you have a great professional staff. That I think makes a big difference, that they care about you. You're only there maybe 3 or 4 nights or 5 nights, but they're really interested in you having a really positive experience.
Have you ever opened a mini bar and taken something out and tried to put it back and you just realized you were charged $9 for a bottle of water?
Once, yeah. It happened once. All you have to do that to me is once. Once. But you learn, and being on the road, you learn hacks that you can call and have another refrigerator sent up to the room.
Right.
And most times they'll do it.
What's your favorite hotel in the entire whole world?
The
entire whole world.
When we stayed in Bangkok, Thailand, I think it wasn't the Peninsula. It was the at the time it was the number 1 hotel in the world. Maybe it was the Peninsula.
Very memorable experience.
Yeah, I meant horrible old names. Give me another hotel, like a really, not the Intercontinental.
Where?
In Bangkok, Thailand. It was.
Actually, the Waldorf just opened in Bangkok, and everybody's raving about that. But I'm not sure. There's one that I stayed in. Believe it or not, it was the Park Hyatt, and it was a really nice hotel.
Really?
It was one of the best hotels I've ever been to. Yeah.
Yeah. As a brand, Hilton is my brand because I seem to stay at Hilton's the most. I don't really.
Well, that's great because we're here in Vegas, me and Glenn, and we're here for Hilton and for a hotel design show. So. Thank you for mentioning Hilton.
It really is. I mean, I'm with them the most. I have the most points. It's nice when you check in and they say, thank you for being a Hilton Honors member.
They give the bag with the 2 waters.
Yeah, that's nice. And it sounds really simple, but when you're on the road and you just spent $4 for water at the airport and you forgot it on the plane and they hand you one, it's like those little things.
Right. It always comes down to the little things.
Yeah, it really does. The cookies and things like that. And I don't need turn down service. It's nice when you get it, but I just want a functioning room.
So I'd like to get back for a second because I forgot to tell the story of how you and I met. We didn't tell that story, have we?
No.
Okay.
I know you were having lunch a few weeks ago, but other than that, I don't know the nature of your relationship.
Okay, we'll kind of tell it together. I'll start. I come out. I'm at Cornell University has an office on Fifth Avenue, actually right across from the Plaza Hotel. And I'm coming out of a meeting with them, and I'm coming out to Fifth Avenue, and this gentleman stops me, and he says...
I said, hey, I'm John Di Domenico. I'm an actor, and I played you in the Red Roof show, and you were there, but I missed you.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. I was like, excuse me?
Like the Red Roof Brand Conference?
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, I go, wait a second. He goes, yeah, I'm your impersonator. I go, I didn't know I had an impersonator.
Right.
And he was like, I was like, but that was at the Red Roof show. He goes, yeah, I came in the day before because you were too expensive for 2 days. And there was
previewed him.
And there was something, like, there's some people you just immediately attach yourself to. Like, we meet thousands of people every day.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no reason why, after just meeting him on the sidewalk 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that him and I should be friends. There's no reason. It was one moment in time, say, hey, they're cool, you're my impersonator, good, God bless you, good luck, goodbye. But we've stayed in contact through social media, watching him. He's been watching me. And now I was in Vegas last week. We got together. Now it's just that connection.
Yeah. And the thing was, when I first saw Hotel Impossible, I was like, first, I love, because I'm in hotels 40 weeks a year. And then I saw what he did, and I'm like, I could do that. I could do that.
If I had a nickel for every person
yeah,
said that.
because I'm in those places.
Hundreds for me alone.
Yeah, and I just love the concept of the show, but I love the way he approached things because Anthony, the way you just did it was obviously you did it right because that's why the show is such a success. And it was one of these shows, and I don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of television, but it was one of the few shows I would seek out and watch when I had the chance, because there was just something about it. There's something about taking something and elevating it, taking it to the next level, maximizing its potential with very simple fixes. Because that's what actors do. Really good actors, when you're trained, it's very small modifications can make a huge difference. And if I give you a quick example, do you guys remember the movie with Robin Williams and De Niro? You mentioned De Niro.
Was that a Chris Nolan movie?
The one where they were all like zombie. They were all kind of in comas until they got like this special dopamine. But
Awakenings.
It's Awakenings. And there's this little De Niro was talking about it. El Dopa. He rarely talks about his adjustments. But he said in the film, I pictured a big rubber band around here, and that's what was. And when you watch the performance after, he tells you that, and it's like little things make a big difference in a performance, in a hotel
Listen,
room.
The Godfather, Marlon Brando said the cotton in his mouth made the Godfather.
Yeah.
It's
little things.
And James Caan actually told me that story when I did a movie and James Caan was in the movie.
Yeah, the movie about
right.
Mom.
Yeah, and he told me the story of he literally just walked out of scene, said, "Hold on, I got to do this better," and nobody knew what he did. Put cotton in his mouth, and there it goes. And now it's one of the greatest characters of all time.
Jolly, and I'd be a little more jolly. Sonny, what are you doing?
So one of the things that it seems like there are moments where your characters are you and you are your characters.
Right.
Do you find
they
that
all kind of
true?
run together.
Yeah.
I've been doing Trump for so long, almost every day, because I do radio shows and I do interviews, and then I do tweets for the Trump cast, and I do a show.
So are you tweeting, literally tweeting him and like writing it like as Trump?
Oh no! What we do is we take his tweets and I read them. We read 5. When I leave here, I'm going to have to go back home, but there's an Australian show called Planet America, and I read the tweets for them. So I'll take all of Trump's, like 5 tweets from the week and do them as Trump. And these are things you wouldn't normally hear, but I know you can tell when he's angry, you can tell when he's trying to make a joke. So I'm going to read those, and I send it off to Australia. I also do the Trump cast. So he's constantly in my head. And my brother Michael said to me, he says, "You realize you're talking like him all the time."
Right.
now.
I feel like it's when Madonna went to London and started speaking in a British accent. Yeah.
Right. I would love a British accent because what's happening is my voice has gotten lower. It's more gravelly now because I'm just kind of in it's become my resting voice.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. So listen to this. Cobblestone Hotels is celebrating their 10th anniversary, and man, have they accomplished a lot in the last decade. Already they have more than 150 hotels throughout the United States, but they're in smaller and medium-sized markets. Those markets that the big franchise companies, they're underserving, they're overlooking, and in some cases just ignoring. But Cobblestone is an expert in these markets. And their president and CEO, Brian Wagernes, listen, I've gotten to know him in the last 10 years, and he has worked every job possible, including being an owner and operator. I can personally vouch for how awesome this company is, how awesome he is as an individual, because he understands the importance of finding the right combination of hotel brand and franchise owner. He's also an incredibly dedicated professional. Whether it's a Cobblestone Hotel and Suites Main Street design, Borders Inn and Suites, or one of the newly acquired brands such as Boulders Inn and Suites, Key West Inns, Centerstone Inns and Suites, Cobblestone has brands that range from economy to upper mid-tier, and one that's right for you. Quite simply, Cobblestone Hotels is the franchise for franchise owners. Patrick Mullenix, well, he's Cobblestone's new president of franchise development. Give him a call or check out their website at cobblestonefranchising.com. But give Patrick a call. He's a great guy. I've known him for a really, really long time, too. You can find him at 920-216-0620. That's cobblestonefranchising.com. And tell him Glenn sent you. Right.
Would you be kind enough to read his latest tweet
from
literally a couple hours ago?
Sure. All right. The fake news, Washington Post, and even more fake news, New York Times, are writing stories that there is infighting with respect to my strong policy in the Middle East. There's no infighting whatsoever.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
No problem. No one tweets like me. 53 million followers. 53.
And let me ask you a question. Do you really believe what you're saying, Mr. Trump?
Absolutely, because I wrote it, and it must be true because it's on the internet.
So since Mr. Trump walked back into the room, I want to ask him, is your wife in love with you?
Absolutely. There's no greater love than the love Melania has for me. And I love her so much. I mean, she's getting a little older. I always say 44 and out the door, but I've given her a break because she's the first lady.
That's very generous.
Absolutely, because I can remember when she arrived from Slovenia. She was so skinny. She popped right out of the box. She looked so great. She had the packing peanuts in her mouth. You know, we have a monthly weigh-in. She wins every time. Every time.
So why do you have separate bedrooms, Mr. Trump?
Well, because I don't like to sleep with other people. I just like to sleep with me. That's the best. Isn't that the best? Don't you know yourself so well? I know myself so well.
So what is the art of coming up with a really good, horrible nickname for people that are not on your side?
Well, because it's so easy. You look at them and you think Crazy Bernie. You think like Pocahontas for,
So if Anthony Melchiorri from Hotel Impossible was running against you.
Just going to ask that question.
What would be his nickname?
I would call him Spaghetti Anthony.
Well,
I'd call him Pasta Boy. Pasta
Boy.
He would too, probably. You call him Pasta Boy, he probably would. So, Mr. Trump, when we worked together, I remember it was a very stressful time for you, Mr. Trump.
Right.
And you asked me to do some things sometimes that were kind of like just a little strange that we won't talk about now.
Right.
And at that moment, I really wanted to work for you. I thought you were a great hotelier, and I was very impressed with you.
The greatest.
But I'll tell you something. I started to get an impression of you. You would really take, you would take prisoners. You wouldn't care, take no prisoners. You would do anything possible. And was that kind of how you became president?
Absolutely.
You would burn down the house.
It's a zero-sum game. There's one winner and all losers, and I'm the only winner. Don't take hostages. I don't negotiate with terrorists or children.
Speaking of children, I think you were amazing in Home Alone 2.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that.
We did that in 2 takes. I said, can we do some more? And Macaulay Culkin said, that's enough.
Yeah, because, Anthony worked at the Plaza, I'm curious as to what it was like for you after he left the company.
Oh, Macaulay Culkin?
No, Anthony.
Oh, Anthony. You left?
Well, you know what? The bankruptcy court escorted us all out. They forced us out.
I didn't know they provided that service.
They did.
Best bankruptcy ever?
But I remember.
No one has bankruptcies like me. Nobody.
But I remember when the hotel went into bankruptcy and you were forced to sell it. You spun it and you were like, you didn't go bankrupt and they didn't force you to sell it.
Right. That's what you always say. Never admit what really happened.
So
when I had the princess, my ship repossessed, I said, I don't need it anymore. I don't want it. It's too big.
And the helicopter and the plane, they all went for a while.
They all went away.
Yeah, so why is your ex-wife still talk so highly of you?
Ivana?
Ivana,
because she's the mother of my children.
Really? It's not because she makes a lot of money being nice to you?
She makes a huge amount of money being nice to me, but that's not why she does it. She knows how incredible I am. I gave her 3 beautiful children.
And how about Ivanka? I haven't seen her recently.
Is she incredible? Is she absolutely incredible?
Would you date her if she wasn't your daughter?
I would date her so fast. But for some reason, people look down on that. I don't know why. I think it would be great. It would be so incredible. And, she works for me for free. She has no salary.
No salary.
No salary. Every day is bring your daughter to work day. Isn't that great?
That's wonderful.
And she's married to Jared, who I've never heard speak. I heard him say, I just heard a very faint I do at the wedding. But other than that, they were under the huppah. She converted to Judaism. I can't talk to her on Friday nights, but that's okay.
So I don't understand something. You would say it when Obama played golf, you would be on him. And now you play golf, I think, Monday through Saturday, and on Sunday, you go to Mar-a-Lago and you play more golf. So how do you do that?
Because I'm a better golfer. Obama couldn't golf. And he wore mom jeans. Who wants to see that? Nobody. But people love seeing me golf because I'm such a tremendous
Do you
golfer.
cheat at golfing?
Never. Why would I cheat? I'm one of the best. Ask anybody. Ask Arnold Palmer. Ask him. Believe me.
So what is your workout routine? Because one of the things I've realized recently is you look so healthy and you look so fit.
Youngest president ever. Very vibrant, very young. I eat very well. Diet Coke and cheeseburgers and Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think that's the secret because it's the grease in the Kentucky Fried Chicken. It lubricates my elbows.
So
do you like the regular recipe or the extra crispy?
I like to mix it up a little bit. Somebody tried to give me the skinless. That's disgusting. Give me the skin.
So Joe Biden I know you got to go in a second, Mr. President, but Joe Biden, apparently, people think that he's going to beat you, has a real chance of beating you.
How could he possibly beat me? We have the greatest economy in the world, right? Stock market's through the roof. Your 401k's through the roof. Lowest unemployment in the history of this. Every demographic, lowest unemployment, even among little people. More little people are employed now than during The Wizard of Oz. Isn't that incredible?
Oh, Anthony is now
and I think
we
all love little
fell
people.
Off the couch.
We all love little
Hopefully,
people.
he's rolling around, disrupting all of our equipment. Oh my goodness! He's now tangled in a series of wires.
Oh my God!
Okay, that's the first time it's ever happened to me.
God.
That was hysterical. Mr. Trump, I got to tell you something. You are so funny. You're the greatest president that's ever lived.
I'm the greatest president in the history of presidents, other than the late, great Abe Lincoln, whose wife was maybe a 3. Maybe a 3. I've seen the paintings. Mary Todd, not an attractive woman, and depressed.
So, after your presidency, about 50 years, when you finally decide not to be a dictator anymore,
Right.
Is your wife going to leave you?
I don't think she's ever going to leave. She's, you know what I mean? She loves this lifestyle. She loves being famous. She loves being best. And she is. She's the best. But you gave me an idea, because if we did get divorced and I got remarried, it would probably be the highest rated wedding in history, because it'd be a presidential wedding. When was the last time you had one of those?
That's a
Grover Cleveland in the White House.
Grover.
He married a 21-year-old.
He really did?
In the White House.
Lucky bastard. I could do that, 21. I'll outdo him. I'll make her 20. And
So-
we'll get her from Estonia.
So I truly believe once you're out of the White House, you and Hillary are going to be best friends.
Probably. Because we were friends before.
You donated to her all the time.
Absolutely. She was at
your wedding. I was at your wedding. Did you remember?
I don't remember you.
I was at your wedding. I handled all the VIPs.
Which one?
Okay, I'll tell you how long ago's wedding was.
Marla Maples. Or Marla?
Marla Maples.
Oh, Marla
So
Maples.
Marla Maples and yourself, you got married at Trump International. You stayed in room 317. Marla called me up the morning of the after the wedding. You got married in the Palm Court, where the whole wall opens up and there's this beautiful fountain in the back. That's where you got married. And she calls me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. She goes, "Tony, I'd like the papers." I said, "No problem."
The divorce papers?
No, she wanted the newspapers.
Oh, I thght you were.
So I bring up the newspapers. I'll never forget this as long as I live. I bring up the newspapers. She opens up the door and she's in a beautiful white kind of negligee, and she has Tiffany Trump in her hands because they had the baby before they got married.
Right. That's the best way to do it, by the way. See the product beforehand.
And she was holding the baby, and I handed her the papers, and she goes, "Thank you very much, Tony." Mr. Trump came out, or I should say, you came out.
Thank you.
You kissed Marla on the. No, you didn't kiss me. You didn't even acknowledge me. You kissed Marla on the cheek, and you left to work. 3 hours after you got married, 3 hours after the reception was over, you were out to work.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Right. Because I love to work. Work is so much fun.
You weren't going to go working on meeting your next wife?
No. I'm building a brand. I love to work. Don't you love to work?
I do love to work, but I also.
And by the way, Marla's very annoying. 30 minutes tops of her I can take. That's about it.
Well, actually, I met her several times and spent some time with her, and she is actually, I think, one of the most wonderful women. And I don't know why you guys got divorced. She seemed like a very nice lady.
She's not very smart.
No?
Not very smart. No. She kept misusing words.
Like what?
Oh,
Not something you would ever do.
No, I would never do that. Like, she kept taking innuendo and she used to say insuendo. That's not a word.
Insuendo?
Insuendo. She would say you're insinuating and an innuendo. She would say it's an insuendo. I said,
So you
I don't know
couldn't
what the
tolerate
hell
that?
you're talking about.
So Adnan Khashoggi was the richest man in the world, and he was at your wedding, of course, right?
Yes, of course. All my rich friends.
Do you know
I
how much
love rich people.
Do you know how much he was worth at the time of the wedding? He was worth
billions and billions.
1.3 billion. So only 25 years ago, the richest man in the world was 1.5 billion. Now you have that in your pocket, 1.5
right.
billion.
Well, we have so many billionaires now. That's the great thing about
But you're the
America.
richest of them all.
Absolutely.
Wait, I thought
so incredibly.
I thought Jeff Bezos had more money than you.
No, he does, but he does it through lies and fake news because of the Washington Post, and that crap he sells on Amazon. It's all crap.
And Bloomberg, who you both in New York City.
I like Michael, but he's against the Second Amendment.
Well, he also hasn't said very nice things about you either.
He didn't? He hasn't?
No.
I never liked him. I never liked that guy.
Okay, Mr. Trump. Well, I know you have a golf game to get to, so it was nice talking to you.
Well, that was great. I can't believe the president came by not once but twice.
Oh, before we let the president go,
of free time.
Before the president goes, John's gonna come back, but we're gonna ask John. One of the things that we do at the end of each show, we say, "Tell us something you don't know." So I want to ask Mr. Trump first.
Yeah.
Tell us something we don't know about you, Mr. Trump.
Well, I get up. As you know, I get up pretty early, but I shine my shoes every day. That's not a joke. I shine my own shoes.
You shine your own shoes.
I shine my own
shoes.
shoes.
Why do you shine your own shoes?
Because I like it done right, and it's something that touches my body, and I don't like anyone touching anything that touches my body. So I do it myself.
So, thank you for sharing that. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I almost forgot, was you have a lot of acting cabinet members. Why do you like acting cabinet members?
Because I can fire them easily, and they don't have to go through the approval process of the Senate through Senate hearings.
So why don't you do that with your wives? Why don't you have someone that's like an acting wife, so you can just divorce her?
That's a great idea. So almost like I could
wait, Mr. Trump. Did somebody else have a great idea besides you? That's not possible.
No, that was my idea.
Oh, that's right.
That was my idea. That's why I thought of it.
You said it was a great idea, but you didn't say it was my great idea.
Right, exactly. You're smart. I should hire you back.
He thought of it and implanted it in your brain.
Right, exactly. That's what happens when I'm around people. They just pick up on my smartness.
Well, you know what? I think one of the reasons I was successful in the hotel business, you gave me my career, Mr. Trump, and I want to thank you.
You're so welcome. And you've done so well with your show.
Well, thank you.
Mission Impossible.
Well,
you look different. He looks different in the movies, but you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trump.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
I don't wear lifts in my shoes, except at the Forbes Travel. Okay, so let's bring John back in. What do you think about bringing John back in?
John, why do you keep leaving this show? Every time you leave, the president comes in.
It's
You're
like
missing out on
it's
a
like
lot
a
of stuff
Flomax commercial. I leave at all the right times to take a whiz.
Now that's not funny because I'm taking Flomax now, and I feel like I gotta go. All
right, so now we know something we don't know about you.
That's true, but that's not what I had planned for this one.
So John, tell us something we don't know.
I meditate every day.
How long?
7 to 8 minutes.
And
everything's gratitude. You had mentioned that in the beginning, but everything's gratitude. I try to be as grateful as possible, and I pray before every meal.
I know. I saw that at breakfast.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that.
And maybe prayer is not the right word. I just stop. Just stop. We're going so fast in life, and there's so many things happening. I think is stop for 30 seconds and appreciate the food in front of you and the person that you're with and the place that you're in and the fact that you have the money to pay for it and that things are as tough as they can be in this moment, they're good.
That's awesome.
And I think that's why you've had such a long career and you will continue to have a long career because, as Glenn said before too, or was about to say, you get that. We get that from you. I think your presence, I don't know whenever you're going to retire and I've never said this to somebody before, but you should full-time just talk to children. You should talk to kids coming out of high school, kids going into college, because there's a sensibility about you and there's an appreciation that I've really not seen from other people. There's I have a dear friend, Leo Rossi, who has the same sensibility.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And matter of fact...
We're journeyman actors.
Right. And you know what? One of the things when we're talking about how long was that friggin' breakfast?
That was like 90 minutes.
That's it. It seemed like a lot longer. And Samantha Brown, too. I have 5... And Samantha Brown, my friend, we have 5-hour breakfasts as well.
No, maybe like 2 hours.
I think it was maybe 5. But Leo Rossi is a character actor, and if you saw his face, you know him. But not a lot of people
you would know him if you
his
saw
name.
him.
And when I mentioned Leo, you said it. You had a true appreciation for him as an actor because he was always around the biggest stars.
Right.
He was always you just had an appreciation for that type of actor.
Yeah, because those are the guys, in a movie out of 25, 30 speaking roles, there's only one De Niro and one Charlize Theron. Everybody else are those people. That second tier and that third tier. Those are the guys who make it up. And you have to have a really good supporting cast. And someone like Leo, who's done how many movies?
112.
Yeah. I mean, that guy knows his way around on a set. He knows what to do in front of a camera. He knows what lighting makes him look intimidating as a mobster or whatever he is. Those are the journeyman actors that make a movie take it to the next level.
And one of the things I've learned by being such close friends with Leo and being on a lot of his movie sets is, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all, I mean it in the best way possible, he's very obedient. And what I mean by is when they say stand over there and we'll be with you, like he's standing there for 2 hours. I saw him when he was in the Gotti movie, standing outside of Spark Steakhouse. He was going to be the last guy to whack Castellano. John Travolta is in the car across the street. John Gotti Jr., the real John Gotti Jr., standing next to me. We're watching this whole thing, and that in itself was surreal. And I remember just waiting for the director, who was Connolly, the guy from Entourage. It took like an hour to set this up, and like it should have taken 5 minutes, everybody thought. Anyway, it took an hour. And I remember him standing up, Leo standing up in the doorway, not moving for an hour.
Wow.
Like, I know on my set when my director says, hey, 5 minutes, if it's 6 minutes, I'm already shitting, I'm screaming and yelling.
I'll tell you why. And this is probably what happened to Leo. When you first start doing film work and you're on a set and you're there for an hour and you think, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. That's when they call you. Where's Di Domenico? Right. Where's Di Domenico? And what you learn to be obedient in the sense that you are again, like what you just said, you mean this in the best way possible. You're a piece of furniture, and they need to know where that piece of furniture is at all times. So when you go to the bathroom, and this happens a lot, I almost get no habit of doing it in the real world, but I'll say, I'm going to take a bio break. And they'll say, Di Domenico to the, 10-100 or whatever it is. But it's like, and when I do theater, and I'll say to the associate director, I'll say, I have to go to the bathroom. They'll go, why are you telling me?
Mm-hmm. So, one of the things
on a set, every moment is accounted for because it's so expensive.
So the lesson to take away from is take the Flomax.
Take the Flomax, exactly. Well, now let them know where you are at all times. It's fascinating, and you stay there, or you ask to move, or you ask to do this, or something, because it's amazing when you leave the set for 5 seconds.
I've never gotten used to that. And matter of fact, after the third season of my show, my assistant, my wonderful, incredible assistant Maria, was hired, and I didn't want to hire. I didn't want an assistant. I only need an assistant. And all of a sudden, I got an assistant. Now, when was the last time you saw a production company hire somebody or pay for someone when the person that they're hiring that person for doesn't want them? They would never spend that money.
That's very unusual, yeah.
You know why? Because they can't find me. Where the fuck is Anthony Melchiorri was the typical thing. Where the fuck is he now? Where is he? Where's Anthony? It's like, I was over there.
That should be the name of your new TV
show. But we told you. Right, where's Anthony?
Where in the world?
But there was like, Anthony, we said to stay in your trailer. I said, we said to stay in my trailer an hour ago, and you said we're going to go in 10 minutes. So I got bored. It was like, but you got to wait in your trailer. I was like, no, I don't have to do anything but die and pay taxes. And to this day, I'm not used to it. Like, you tell me 5 minutes, I'll give you 6, but I'm not giving you 7. So, and Maria, who I love to death, but she was hired by them, so she was loyal to both of us, but she was more loyal to them. So she would basically, he's around the corner. And I'm like, I heard you, Maria.
I'm right here.
It's like, because she'd find me, and
yeah.
I got him. He's around the corner. He's coming out of the store right now. I'm like, Maria, really? You giving me up like that? Yeah, Maria, you giving me up like that? So, yeah, I never got used to that.
He just rolled on you.
So Anthony.
Anthony. You're Anthony.
No, he's Anthony.
Yeah. So, Anthony, the real Anthony, tell us something we don't know.
Tell us something we don't know.
I know you sound surprised by that question.
I don't know what the hell that means.
So they heard it
you know what?
Before.
When you're a kid and you see something on television, you I want to be a baseball player, I want to be this. And John told me when he saw Rich Little on TV that he really wanted to help. He wanted to interpret that, and he wanted to maybe do that for a living. I never wanted to do that, but I always appreciated Rich Little. Out of all the actors in the world, I never thought of myself I've never tried to be an impersonator. I've never tried voices in my bathroom or anything like that. But every time he was on screen, anytime he did it, I had such a respect and appreciation for that.
Yeah,
and so
he's the guy. He was the guy.
Yeah,
for decades.
It was insane how good he was.
Yeah, he was he was the brand when it came to impressionist impersonation.
And you know what's amazing? When we were little kids, you had Rod Stewart, and you had the Rolling Stone, you had Rich Little, you had all these people. And we're in Vegas right now, and they're all here, and they're all doing it.
Yeah.
And they're 97 years
they
old.
Come out in their walkers.
But they're still selling out. But they're still selling out crowds.
Yeah.
Like Billy Joel just did his 100th show at Madison Square Garden
amazing?
at 70 years old.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
And I still haven't gone.
But you know what? But I think
it's incredible.
But I think that they have something that, everyone, I think it's kind of a lost art. And the lost art is hard fucking work. Yeah. There's nothing that takes but
I also have a theory on why that's happening. Because of all the because there's so many platforms now, there's Hulu and this thing and that thing and YouTube and there'll never be people like those guys again. Right. They may be equal in talent and everything, but you'll never have hit songs that appeal to that many people anymore because people are not listening. They're not getting their music through an FM radio station where you're kind of forced to listen to the same thing. So that era is over. Right. And for people like us and maybe a little younger, those are it. Like they defined our childhood, they defined our teenage years, our first kiss, our prom, all those things, and they mean so much to us. But my nieces and nephews who don't watch linear television, they're never going to experience or listen to radio. They're never going to have that shared experience that the people who are going to see Rod Stewart or see Elton John or see those people who, like, Elton John was the 70s.
Right.
Billy Joel was the late 70s into the early 80s. It's
And what's interesting is when you were in the house, one TV was on, one radio was on. Now everybody's got their own thing.
Right.
If I say, a Lucy reference or a honeymoon reference, address the ball. What do you say?
Right.
Hello, ball.
Right, exactly. Right. What's the most famous scene from Lucille Ball? The chocolates, right?
Right.
Right, and it's
vitamin.
Right, but even stand-up comedy, there's so much stand-up comedy. But if I say, your answer goody Google, Eddie, your answer goody Google, what's that from? That's from
Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy, right? But there's so much comedy out there now, like you can't take it all in. Yeah. But back then, that's so true. I never thought of it that way. Like my kids, like Frank Sinatra and Billy Joel, when they were kids, they listened to it all the time because it was in my car. Now they got control of the radio in their car. They still appreciate Frank Sinatra and Billy Joel. But if those devices were around when they were 3 or 4 or 5, they wouldn't know who Billy Joel and Frank Sinatra was because everybody's got their own music,
their own thing. And I think you and I talked about this at breakfast.
Told you it was a 4-hour breakfast.
When we were kids and you came home, it didn't matter if you were in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, where I'm from, there were 3 TV stations and 2 UHF stations, and that was it. Because of that, people who are my age, older, and just a little bit younger, they have a shared cultural experience. My cultural experience as a kid went back 100 years. It went back to, because, PBS was showing Buster Keaton and Charlie. And I love Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin.
Little Rascals. And that was shot in the 50s.
Yeah. So, it was earlier than that.
Earlier than that.
Really?
Started in the 30s.
Started in the 30s.
What?
Yeah. Started in the 30s.
I thought it was, really? And when I was a kid, I thought it was still, it was like right then.
The Our Gang shorts are originally...
Yeah,
wow.
because look at Laurel and Hardy. They started in the silence, and their sound film started in the 20s and 30s. So when you look at this, we were lucky in the sense that we got all of this cultural history that went back, and it was shared. It was a shared cultural history. We don't have that anymore. Cultural history in this country is maybe 2 weeks old, generally, and things are moving
2
faster.
tweets old.
Yeah, 2 tweets old. Well, because we have this media cycle that's moving so fast. So I feel lucky that I got to even see the Lon Chaney film when I came home from school, and I turned on the $1 Million movie because it impacted. It impacted me.
I grew up with Abbott and Costello every Saturday morning.
Yeah, and I watched those too.
Was it on third base or first base?
Who?
Second base.
Keystone Cops.
Second base. Yeah. All right, so Glenn, tell us something we don't know.
So something we don't know. One thing I've always wanted to do is be able to do impressions and voices and all of that kind of stuff, but I can't do it, and it frustrates me to
do me, Glenn, right now. Go ahead.
You have a great voice. You have a voice for impressions,
but I can't seem to get my act together. And when I asked you the question about how do you stay in character, like I can't do anything more than like a few words or a line before I then start sounding like a completely different accent that makes no sense.
Right. You
just
lose it.
Right.
It slips through your fingers.
And I guess part of it is that I haven't dedicated the hard work to it. And
Right.
I thought it'd be something easier, and I kind of gave up onto it. But it's something I regretted not following through because I know it would have made me a much more fun person when I'm doing things on the microphone or on stage.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know what? I meant to say this before, and I'm going to say it now. And we were talking about hard work and appreciation. And I appreciate your hard work because a lot of people don't see how many podcasts and everything you're doing and how much work you put into it. And just, from an insider now, because we were friends up until a little while ago, I truly understand and appreciate how hard you really work. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, thanks, Anthony. That's great. I love being able to do this show with you and getting to know you as well. And man, John, this has been a lot of fun, dude. I mean,
there's Mr. Trump again. Mr. Trump, get the hell out of here.
No, I want to be on. Everything's running great in Washington. Can I just be on for 10
No, we're
minutes?
done.
Wait, no,
Goodbye.
Can you do one more thing, though? It would be an honor if...
executive order? I can do one of those. $10.
But
$10.
This won't be executive
orders.
privilege. I want everyone to hear
no.
this, all right? So could you, insult me?
Could I? Could I? So easy. You come to an interview, you don't shave, your hair looks like it was done by a mix master. You look like you rolled out of bed. Is that a pajama top? What are you wearing?
That's hysterical.
Anthony's in here in a 3-piece suit. His cufflinks have cufflinks. Look at you. You look like you're wearing a burlap bag.
Oh, my God. It's so funny because I looked at myself this morning and I'm like, fuck, I need a haircut. But, at least I have hair, gentlemen.
So if he was running against you, what would his name be? His name
What would his name be?
What would his nickname be?
His name would be, let's see. Gray Glenn. Prematurely Gray Glenn. He's an old man. You don't want this guy. I'm 73 and more active than this guy. Believe me.
So Joe Biden how old is Joe Biden now?
Very old.
Too old to be president?
He's so old, his blood type has been discontinued. That's how old Joe Biden is.
Well, you know what? I would like, now that Mr. Trump has been here and he doesn't really have that much to do in Washington and everything's under control, maybe we can say checking in with Anthony Glenn and Mr. Trump.
Yeah, I will definitely be saying that.
Would that be the name of the show?
Absolutely. But Trump should be first.
Okay.
Should be above the title.
You think?
Maybe we should just change this to Trump with Trump.
Checking in with Trump
all the time.
I feel like if it was up to Trump, it would be like the Peanuts language.
The Trump
right?
News Network.
Do you know that you and I have something else in common, Mr. Trump?
What's that?
You and I spent our honeymoon in the same suite. Not at the same time, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll seal that off and have it destroyed.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this.
Yeah.
Wrap this up before it gets too late. Yeah. So for John, Anthony, Mr. Donald Trump, and myself, Glenn, thanks for checking in.
Yes.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony